My name is Cian White. I'm a postdoc here on the Farm Zero C project, and I'm the ecologist looking at biodiversity here on Cian. And if you look at the landscape behind me here, you'll see a patchwork of fields, but also hedgerows, woodlands, wetlands and semi-natural grasslands. The landscape you see behind me works for both people and nature. It's a kind of landscape that we're very familiar with here in Ireland, but one that we don't actually value enough. And so to do that, we're going to look at some of the species that occur in the habitats we have here on Cian Farm. So there are 98 different species of bee in Ireland. One of those is a honeybee. And there's 20 different bumblebees, and I have a few examples of bumblebees up in the offices. And then there's another 77 different species of bee, and those species tend to nest in earth banks, and we have an example of earth banks here. Bees are very important for lots of different reasons. They're pollinators, first of all, pollinate lots of crops, but in farmland in Ireland, the main economic benefit is they pollinate clover. And as clover and multi-species swords become more popular, that will become a more important service offered by the bees. But of the 98 species of bee in Ireland, a third are threatened with extinction. They're red listed. So it's great to see that we have an earth bank here. It's a cold day, so they're not active, but there's a few different species of what we call ground nesting solitary bees nesting in this bank here. And one of those species is the ashy miner bee. It's got a grey body and digs nests in this kind of exposed bare soil. So these are actually important habitats on farms. Cattle might rub up against a hedge or a bank and actually create these in a kind of temporary fashion. And it's good that they exist on farmland because this provides a habitat for these threatened species of bee. Okay, so we are down in the southwestern part of the farm, and there's a lovely riparian woodland here. And we were just looking at a buzzard who was circling around, being mobbed by lots of different crows. I think they're actually nesting in one of these trees here in the woodland. So buzzards are an interesting species. There was a chemical called DDT that is widely used on farmland. It would accumulate in the prey of lots of different birds of prey. Then that would affect the calcium formation of their eggs. So whenever they laid an egg, it would break. DDT was banned at a European level, and then in the last 30 years, buzzards have made a remarkable recovery. They were extinct in Munster, Leinster and Connacht. So most of the country, they survived in a small part of Antrim and Ulster and have recolonised from that point, from Antrim all the way back down the country. And now you'll find them in lots of different farmland landscapes across Ireland. And we have some on Cian Farm here. We're down here at a lovely riparian forest and actually nesting in one of these trees here on farm. So we're down in the southwest corner of Cian Farm, and we're in what is a long established, if not ancient, woodland. There's lots of beech, birch, oak, hazel in here. So it's a really nice, species-rich, long established woodland. And then part of that is this gorgeous carpet of bluebells which comes in the spring every year. So this is the native Irish bluebell. It has this classic kind of pendulous structure with all the bells hanging off one side. There hasn't been any intermixing between the native and the Spanish bluebell. These are all native species. So that's good to see. It's a good, native, species-rich and very abundant habitat here. So on Cian Farm, we've found this yellowhammer occurring in the hedgerows. The male will be singing its very characteristic song, and it's great to see because yellowhammer has really, their numbers have declined massively in the last 20 years or so, and this is due to just change in agricultural practices. So lots of farmland has changed from arable into more pasture type of farmland, and also we've got better at storing grain. This bird species is actually red listed now in Ireland, so it's gone under quite a big decline. So it's great to see it in this dairy farm in Cian. So it's using the hedgerows, it's using the tree lines to forage and also to nest in the hedgerows. So we'll nest in the hedgerows here in Cian. The nesting period is actually very late. It's in late summer. It's one of the latest nesting birds that we have in Ireland. It's one of the reasons why the hedge cutting season starts in September. So we've just looked at several of the species that occur here on Cian Farm and the habitats that they're associated with. So now it's important to talk about why we value nature on farmland. And the first reason is that some of the habitats can actually be useful. So hedgerows can obviously provide some kind of shelter service for cattle and for livestock. Woodlands can store carbon. Wetlands can also store carbon, particularly in the soil. So there's some use benefits to having these habitats on your farm. But the main reason is just to actually conserve the species that live in the habitats. So even having 10% of your farm in habitat, natural habitats such as the hedgerows, woodlands, wetlands, etc. that we've explored in these videos, that can really do a lot for reversing declines in biodiversity that we've seen in Ireland in the last 30, 40 years.